Have you ever owned something? An old teddy bear, a statue, a painting that just didn't feel right? A feeling that it was watching you when you weren't looking, or that its presence in a room made the air feel heavy and cold? Most of us dismiss those feelings, telling ourselves our imagination is running wild. But the story I'm about to share, sent in by a viewer named Michael, is a chilling reminder that sometimes our instincts are dead right. This is his story. When I was a kid, my grandmother gave me a teddy bear for my 6th birthday. It was nothing special, just a standard stuffed bear with fuzzy brown fur and shiny black button eyes. I named him Misa. Misa was my best friend. I slept with him, told him all my secrets, and believed he was there to protect me from the monsters in my closet. Things started to change very slowly when I was about 10. At first, it was small things. I'd leave Misa sitting on my bed when I went to school, only to come home and find him on the floor in the corner. I just figured I was being forgetful. But then the feeling of unease began to creep in. Whenever I was doing my homework, I'd get this intense feeling of being watched from behind. When I'd turn around, it was just Misa on the bed, his black button eyes seeming to stare right through me. I told myself it was just the light in the room, just a kid's imagination. It got worse one night. I was asleep when I was woken by a very faint scratching sound coming from the corner of the room, where I'd tossed Misa after making my bed. I held my breath, listening. The scratching came again, like the sound of coarse fabric dragging across the wooden floor. I was too scared to open my eyes, so I just pulled the covers over my head and trembled until morning. The next day, Misa wasn't in the corner. He was sitting perfectly upright in my reading chair, his head tilted slightly, as if he was curiously watching me sleep. That's when I knew something was really wrong. I told my parents, but they just laughed and said I'd been watching too many scary movies. No one believed me. I started to become afraid of my own bedroom. I stuffed Misa deep into my closet, burying him under a pile of old clothes, hoping that out of sight would mean out of mind. But I was wrong. That night was the climax. I locked my bedroom door, a click of the lock echoing in the silent house, feeling a small, false sense of security. I fell into a restless sleep, only to be jolted awake around 2 a.m. It wasn't a noise that woke me, but the opposite, a sudden, oppressive silence. The usual creaks of the old house, the distant hum of the refrigerator, it was all gone. The world outside my room felt like it had ceased to exist. Then it started. A faint, slow scratch, scratch, scratch at the bottom of my door. It wasn't the frantic sound of an animal. It was deliberate, light, and patient. I froze, my heart pounding in my ears, every muscle in my body screaming at me not to move. The scratching continued for what felt like an eternity, then stopped. A long, tense silence followed. I lay there, eyes wide open in the darkness, straining to hear anything. I thought maybe it was over. Then I heard a soft, dull thump against the bottom of the door, as if something small and soft had just been propped up against it from the other side. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I just lay there, paralyzed by a fear so profound it felt like a physical weight on my chest, my eyes fixed on the door until the first gray light of dawn seeped through my window. With trembling legs, I forced myself out of bed. My hand shook as I reached for the doorknob and slowly, quietly turned the lock. I pulled the door inward. Misa was sitting there, right on the threshold, leaning against the doorframe. Its button eyes stared straight up at me. I didn't scream. I just felt a cold, hollow emptiness spread through me. I grabbed a long hockey stick from my closet, used it to push the bear into a black trash bag, tied it shut with a knot so tight my knuckles turned white, and threw it into a public dumpster several blocks from my house. For years, my life went back to normal. I almost managed to convince myself it was all just a series of nightmares, until last week. I'm 28 years old now, living in my own apartment. On my birthday, a small, unmarked package arrived. There was no return address. When I opened it, the blood in my veins turned to ice. It was Misa. It looked older, dirtier. Its brown fur faded and matted, but it was him. There was no mistaking it. Those same black button eyes stared up at me. Tucked under its arm was a small, folded piece of paper. The handwriting was messy, like a child's. It said, "Misa missed you."